Okay. So, Miles thought that it would be fun to show us one of the most controversial movies of last year, Joker, Folie, Deux. You mind if I go on a little just rant for tangent first? So, there is an episode of Family Guy where Brian writes a really bad self-help book on purpose because it's a joke to himself because he hates self-help books and wants to make a joke of how easy it is to make one. And then it becomes really acclaimed and he tries to pretend that he was serious about it and ride the fame off that. Todd Phillips did the same thing with the first Joker, where he made a riff of how he doesn't like superhero movies. He copied a bunch of scenes from Martin Scorsese movies and made it star an in-name version only of the Joker as a joke to himself about how easy it is to make superhero movies. But when the Joker got popular, he decided to make a sequel pointing out how fucking stupid everyone was for getting obsessed with that movie. I fully believe that at this point.
So, when this movie came out, it was slammed with negative review after negative review after negative review. The negative reviews were seemingly endless. Mm-hmm. And frankly, going into it, it set my expectations real low. Expectations were bottom floor bargain bin expectations. And I went to see the movie with my dad one day in October, and when I saw it and got out, my dad liked it, which kind of hard to impress my dad sometimes with movies. And I guess I ended up and with my expectations already low, I kind of liked it, and I kind of came out saying what's everybody's problem with this? Why are we all going nuclear on this movie?
I did not care for the first Joker myself. I haven't seen it since its theatrical run, but I think I could sum up my problem with this movie is trying to make a point about society, but it's trying to make that point in a movie where you have to guess what actually happened, which pretty much defangs any message it's trying to have, in my opinion. So, when they found out that this movie was basically reaffirming my stance that the first movie wasn't about shit, I was it did catch my interest, but not enough to see it in theaters.
Well, I did not watch the first Joker fully until about a couple of months ago, I want to say. I can't remember exactly. No, it must have been around the time the sequel came out, because my mom and dad thought they wanted to see it because it had Lady Gaga in it, and then we didn't have the time, and I kind of stayed quiet about it after the negative reviews because I didn't want to see it.
I was in the same boat. My dad was curious about Lady Gaga being in it.
Yeah, so I watched the first one in preparation, just in case, and it's a depressing movie, and it does have at least a decent amount to say about, people with mental illness, but at the same time, kind of some of it's a little iffy in, how tasteful it is.
The epitomization of the first Joker for me was back when Honest Trailers was doing commentaries. They had 4 hosts who spent 10 minutes debating 4 different points of what the movie was trying to say and never coming to a consensus.
I think for me, the first movie, I cut a lot of slack. Yes, it plays into some stereotypes about people with mental illness, particularly the stereotype that anybody with a mental illness is just a hair trigger away from going on a shooting rampage.
Yeah.
But I thought it actually was at least trying to say something, and I thought there was enough substance to the first movie to where it was it wasn't a complete disaster or without any merit. But I do take the point that the first movie was clearly trying to ape Scorsese, and that people who there were people who were trying to base their whole identities or rethink their entire life philosophy based on the messaging of the first Joker movie. And so
I remember when the Academy Awards or something were announcing Best Pictures and Joker wasn't it. There was that viral clip of this one guy yelling that Joker was the most important movie of our lifetimes.
Joker actually was nominated for Best Picture.
Oh, right. And then
it was?
Yeah, Joker was nominated for at least a dozen Oscars that year. the one Oscar, actually I think it won a couple of Oscars.
Okay, so that viral clip came when it lost.
Yeah. The one Oscar that I distinctly recall it winning, and again I know it won a few, but the one I remember it winning was Joaquin Phoenix's performance.
Which that one I wouldn't argue with.
Which
yeah.
And so when the second movie came out, my initial thoughts, and honestly they kind of reaffirm upon this viewing, and we'll start to get into it. I probably have the biggest hot take out of the three of us here of like how we felt about Folie Deux. So I thought like it might be a good idea just to like quickly go through like a quick sentence or two of like what our initial thoughts are before we really dive into things.
Okay. My thoughts were, I was bored through the first half. The second half, when it like kind of gets into his psychology, I found interesting. I do like that this one had more of a point to it than like the first one's point was a little scattershot and kind of defanged by its unreliable narrator structure. But this one, it does have a point, and that point is this guy is a freaking loser. And I will get into, there is a real life parallel to what happens in this movie. I'll get into later.
To quote Sydney from Scream 5, I'm bored.
And me here.
Well,
so
also to quote the two of us when we paused it because Miles had to use the bathroom.
Well, and to say a little bit more than that, it's like, yeah, I kind of same thing what Jado was thinking, but at this, I was not very super impressed by the musical numbers. I mean, I guess like it is good that it's a little bit more sensitive about the topics it's talking about, and like there's a few well-acted scenes. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is still doing what he does, but yeah.
Like to talk about the musical scenes, like I was wondering. Okay, yeah, good.
So so I can't remember everything I wrote in my letterbox review because I ended up writing a lot more than I actually thought I would. Like I spent a whole last Sunday afternoon, probably at least 90 minutes writing my original letterbox review for Folie Deux. And okay, I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I kind of see the movie as what I call a messy masterpiece, and just because of the general reception when I posted my reaction to social media, I accompanied it with the clip of of Mark Hamill's Joker going on his crazy laugh from the ending of Mask of the Phantasm, because that's kind of how it felt like. Because like with everybody letting the reactions be known, I thought I was like, well, I must be crazy.
No, you want a messy masterpiece? That would be The Room.
Yeah.
Masterpiece in a different kind of sense.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, we won't go on that tangent.
Yeah, because we watched some messy bullshit last night.
Some old bullshit.
I nearly got strangled yesterday for showing them Google.
Yep. So. Okay. So.
But so
yeah. So, here we go.
Well, one of the things that everyone was kind of confused about with this movie was wondering why it was a musical, and for like I was willing to let it slide because having a new random obsession that week is kind of a very on-brand thing for the Joker to do. Because, like, there was an episode of The Batman where he was obsessed with trains. There's episodes of Batman the Animated Series where he's obsessed with this casino or obsessed with fish, and maybe his spinner just landed on musicals that week. It's not until, like, the second half where it becomes very clear, like, the musicals are basically a fantasy of how he wants the world to be. Because prior to that, I thought that you were just using it to spice up this boring-ass courtroom drama.
Or the way I think the way I see it is not just that it's like a representation or a manifestation of his fantasy, and this is kind of why I thought it was kind of an interesting excuse to make it a musical. Was I thought each musical number was a brief glimpse into the psyche of Joaquin Phoenix's Arthur Fleck at the current state the story was at. So like the musicals, like the musical numbers, in the first half are really focused on like he's hopeful, like he thinks the world revolves around him, he thinks he has all this power. Towards the middle, he starts to see like his influence, or he may not have as much influence as he thinks because like Lee, sorry.
Well, they do call her Harley in
but,
the movie, but she likes Lee.
Well, but she's officially credited as Lee Quinzel.
Yeah.
And then during the middle half, the musical numbers start to like Lee Quinzel's really inserting herself, so kind of giving off, and we'll get into this, kind of giving off the vibe that he's not as important. And then by the end, the musical numbers take on the tone of he's a fucking loser.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, I should watch my swearing for YouTube.
I don't think YouTube cares because like it didn't. I swore a lot for Smile and the not Apocalypse War, the Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't think YouTube so much cares. I don't know because I'm not big enough to notice the algorithm. I think it's more like sensitive subject matter that got me in trouble for the Smile reviews because I feel like my but still. I think we'll be fine there. But, like, so if you haven't seen the movie, like, the general plot is, after the first movie where Joker killed 3 people and then killed a talk show host on stage, on camera, and drove the city nuts, kind of, he became this big, like, pop culture phenomenon. This one, he's basically going to stand trial where they're trying to figure out if he's basically trying to figure out if he's split personality or not, which I just kind of realized they don't really I don't know how much that really like as the movie goes on, it kind of drops that a little bit.
I think the movie doesn't so much drop it because like there are references, still continuous references made throughout of like either like during the testimony or in private conversations of like characters like like either referring to fantasy or making dialogue references to like being this like distinct personality that does kind of come up throughout the trial, even when Joker goes on this like very hammy southern rant, like southern accent laden rant.
Yeah, but let's say like
he's like, is that the same man that you see here today, Mr. Puddles?
I say yes, sir. This is the kind of accent he's using through that whole scene. Yes, sir.
Well, this is one thing I brought up when we were watching. One of the big things that they focus on in the first movie as to the cause of like why like Joker's like insane is just the general state of the city. Mm-hmm. Like everything's like trash filled, like there's lots of homelessness, like lots of people struggling. There's giant rats all over the place. He stops going to get mental help. He stops going to his therapist because the city's no longer funding therapy. Mm-hmm. Like, stuff like that. And one thing I thought was kind of strange, they never bring any of that up in this movie.
I think that wasn't so much as important here. I think what was important was, like, his own personal life. And they really focused on, like, the stuff that they really wanted to focus on, like, the stuff that his mother did. And in general, like, how he's taken advantage of. So that's why I don't think the state of the city was
but still, that's like one... And at one point, Jado mentioned how the Waynes were killed during the riots, unless that didn't happen. Mm. How that doesn't play a factor into it, even when the Waynes did. Well, then again, I don't think
that would be huge news.
Well, yeah, and also, I wanted to say that because our Joker had like a connection with the Waynes, at the same time, that one scene from the first movie where he sees like the child Bruce Wayne, I don't think anybody would have known about that.
Joker did not like it was I distinctly remember later on in the movie it was revealed like the whole like he might be related to Bruce Wayne was actually a lie.
That was a lie from his mom, and that was one of my problems with that first movie because I was like, then what did that whole subplot have to do with shit?
Yeah. So, well, maybe then again that could have been Todd Phillips realizing his mistake. I don't know.
And I think there was still enough of like the conditions of life we're getting to him because like we see the conditions that he's kept in at Arkham, and they are like the most deplorable of conditions. Like dirty. They make them go to the bathroom in buckets in their cell, and they have to walk to a sink to dump it. Like collectively, their clothes are shit. Heck, they let some prisoners just sleep in their underwear, like their dirty underwear. So, like, I think and we also see the general abuse of the guards, like...
At the same time, though, it didn't seem like the guards were that abusive until Joker started fucking with them in this movie.
Like, basically, they weren't, like, they had to be set off. Like, they wouldn't do things unprovoked.
Like, set off by stuff that anyone would be able to tell, like, that he's no good. But, so, like, the plot of the movie is basically Joker's on trial, while in the background of all of this, there's this woman who is basically this universe's Harley Quinn, who like takes an interest in him and starts like seducing him, and we find out pretty quickly that she's just completely making up her entire story, telling him whatever he wants to hear. Like, everyone can see that she's just stringing him along except for him, which kind of plays into what a dumbass and a loser this guy is.
And she's using, and we're told explicitly that she has a graduate degree in psychology.
Well, yeah, because like when they introduce her, like she's in the mental hospital. She's like in one of the better wings. And then we find out later on, no, it's like she claims that she's in there for setting her house on fire. But then we later find out, no, she didn't kill her parents. In fact, she's actually pretty well off, and that's the reason she has like a degree as being a psychiatrist.
And I kind of thought that made Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn probably one of the most insidious portrayals, because like, when you really break it down, like, she is a downright despicable, despicable human being, and I just kind of like that for Lady Gaga, because like, it's kind of nice that she's not just playing like, and I love her previous roles, especially in A Star Is Born, but she's not just like a pretty face romantic interest.
Yeah. If I could add one thing to that, I will give the movie this. It's kind of interesting that they did a role reversal where it's Harley who's the dominant, abusive one and controlling one, and Joker is the victim.
I was gonna say that because Harley started out as basically the Joker's domestic abuse victim. Then she got popular, and DC wanted to get away with that, so they've basically been making her into their version of Deadpool. But now they're kind of starting to swing back where other versions of Harley, they make straight up villains. Like Batman Caped Crusader has Harley as the villain with no Joker whatsoever in one of the episodes, and she's one of the biggest villains, like more insidious villains of the series. And in this one, like, she's the one who's like ruining Joker's life by talking him into doing a bunch of shit that's against his own interest, which
and actively doing like, and I feel like Lady Gaga's performance is kind of the linchpin of Todd Phillips' thesis with this movie, where basically Lee is almost Todd Phillips basically turning to like the audience and say, I'm taking you all for a fucking ride, and you're all too stupid to realize it.
I hadn't thought of that, but like, the Joker's arc through this is, while the trial's going on, and this is about where I started to actually get interested, they have Zazie Beetz, who he imagined himself dating in the first one, come to the stand and basically spell out how this guy's a complete loser. His mom was telling her all the time how he's a loser. He basically retreats into his head to where he to imagine that he's still a badass, like killing everyone in the courtroom. And then he snaps out of his like fantasy and basically fires his lawyer and proceeds to completely sabotage his entire life because he got triggered that a woman was basically saying he had a small pee-pee.
And Miles had a lot to say regarding how Joker suddenly starts to represent himself.
Yeah, so if I were, and this is why I call the movie a messy masterpiece, because like, the part I'm going to talk about is kind of a problem with like trying to keep you invested in the movie's reality, such as it is, but then it kind of becomes its own form of entertainment. So Arthur Fleck in this as a character is clearly an unhinged person. From like, there is no way you could look at a reasonable person could look at Arthur Fleck and say he is either mentally competent or in his right mind.
Like, he has a full-on psychotic episode when he fires his lawyer.
Yeah, the scene where he fires his lawyer is pretty bombastic, and like, clearly he is not making the right decision. And the judge just asked him and with his record as a person, the judge just only asked him a few questions, and then he's like, yeah, you're fit to represent yourself. Yeah, I'll let you dress up as a clown in open court, and then the jury can just still try you as if you're mentally competent. And I'm like, no sane person could look at Arthur Fleck and be like, okay, you're making a competent decision, so I will let you represent yourself, or you are a competent person, so you clearly just murdered people, knowing full well what you were doing. No, a judge would have looked at that and maybe less than 60 seconds and could have found out that no, you are not making a rational decision. You are not in your right. You are not in your right of mind. Even if you're firing your lawyer, we're still giving you a court-appointed attorney.
That is the least of the problems.
Oh, I know,
I'm just saying that most superhero properties have with the legal system.
I was about to say, yeah, because like you pointed out several times that the comic book genre's like adherence to how our legal systems work is tenuous at best.
Yeah, but like the Joker's arc in this movie is he imagines himself as a badass. He tries to live out that fantasy by like taking charge of the courtroom,
and he thinks he has all these fans.
And he thinks he has all these fans. He thinks he has all this power. Like he thinks he runs this city, and basically tries to run the courtroom like he does that. And then later on, but then shortly after, he mouths off about all the guards at Arkham and cannot see 2 seconds ahead that this is going to bite him in the ass. And
I think that was him lost in his fantasy at that point.
Yeah, but then like he gets the shit kicked out of him when he gets back to Arkham, and one of his followers is just like choked out like nothing. And I thought it was kind of an abrupt jump, but you pointed out like that was probably like reality setting in for him. Like he basically reality punches him in the face that like, no, you don't have any of this power. You are living a fantasy, and all these other people are buying into it. And it's like he's completely he's this loser who is easily manipulated by everybody around him, who cannot like tell this woman is playing him for a sucker, who sabotages his entire life to basically to play to his ego.
And that's basically the moment where where I think people who like built their identities around the first movie really got pissed off, because Todd Phillips that's basically him saying, no, you all were losers. Like, I can't believe I have to spell this out for you.
Mm-hmm. And the real-life subtext I was talking about is, I've been watching this YouTuber, The Internet Anarchist, lately, and he's done a few videos about the, have you ever heard of Johnny Somali?
That name sounds familiar.
I have not.
He's a streamer who would basically film himself going to Japan and, I forget where else, but eventually Korea, basically just harassing everybody he could find for money and donations and views.
Typical YouTube MO.
And then when he tried that shit in Korea, he got arrested, and he's facing like 30 years in prison. And he tried to stand up to the judge. He tried to like keep streaming. He tried to be like, I will be your conduit into evil. Like, if you keep paying me, and I'll be like your anarchist. But like, the longer it goes on, he's completely broke, sponging off his roommate, and he's still facing like 30 years in prison and counting. It's like he has withered to a completely useless husk of a man, because like reality has set in. Like, you don't have all this power or clout you thought you did. You're a dumbass with no life skills who has basically ruined their own life for nothing.
Or that's
basically what the Joker does in this movie.
Or that it shows when you have celebrity status, that status is as fickle as a toothpick.
Yeah. But all this like character development stuff that I liked doesn't really kick in into the second half of the movie, and like Nick and I were bored off our asses for the first part, because like before the Joker's like fantasies start illuminating his character, that trial sequence is so dry, and we don't have context for the musical numbers.
Like, I will say, like, this discussion is making me at least appreciate like the character arc that Joker goes through in this movie, but that doesn't change the fact the whole thing was dull for me.
Like, I at least found stuff to like in the second half, but it took a while for it to get going for me.
I will say, like, and so this is like obviously where I diverge from the two of you, well, in pretty much a lot of places, but what I thought kept me going through the first half, even when, yes, technically, admittedly, not a lot is happening, is it's the general character work that's being done, the tone of the performances from Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, and a surprisingly really good turn from Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah,
like Brendan Gleeson's
I did like Brendan Gleeson.
He's in quite a bit of the movie. And I also just really liked the musical numbers that they were doing. I know you two didn't really like how whispery they were, but I personally liked them.
When they're not whispery, they're better.
Because they just had this unhinged quality, and also, say what you will about Todd Phillips as a person, but and maybe some of his other movies he's made, but like his directing and the way like he directed the and like whoever shot this movie, they were on point because this movie looks amazing. Like there are just so many like just jaw-dropping, downright gorgeous shots. One of my personal favorites is like there's a scene where Joker looks like he's just sitting down like with a mic in his hand like on a stool. And it's like all darkened out, but you see like a little light in the background. Just the way it highlights that, like shots like that, I'm just always a sucker for. And then there's also like these like big grand scope shots that Todd Phillips inserts because he shot the movie at least partly in IMAX.
Yeah.
And like I said, just the technical side of things was really keeping me going along with what I thought was actually pretty engaging character work because like Lady Gaga especially does a really good job of like showing you or like actually showing you her like getting her claws in him like that I think is extremely well portrayed.
Yeah, like the cinematography and the music in particular are really atmospheric. It's just like it sucked me in at the start, but as it went on and it took a long time for anything to start happening, like the atmosphere wore off for me, kind of, and which like there's just like this it's like with Dune where there was eventually this crystallizing moment where I was like I realized like the movie isn't really doing anything, and then I just kind of like the atmosphere stopped working for me.
At least here in Folie, Deux, they didn't like build everything up through the first half of the movie and then just blow it up, and then the remainder of the movie is about absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You know, the Dune comparison is kind of apt. Like that's kind of how I felt watching this.
I think like we are some of the only people on the internet who do not care for the Dune.
Well, I know
movies.
Miles liked part 2 a little bit better.
I agree with you all that part 1, like minor tangent in this, but part 1 I do not like. Part 2 I really like.
Part 2 I was about equally indifferent to as part 1. I mean, maybe a little bit more I liked part 2, if only because it had more battle scenes.
Part 2 I tolerated because I thought the themes of religion were interesting, but so much of that movie, most of that movie I did not give a shit about. So, but back to Joker 2 instead of like
or Joker Madness of 2 because Todd Phillips it can be a bit of a pretentious asshole.
Or Joker fooling a douche.
Fooling a douchebag.
Yeah, but like this is something that something I learned from trying to be on YouTube, and something that like Lanny Pator said on Team 4-Star was like trying to help people get started. If you're trying to talk loud but also control your voice, you sound like this and your speaking sounds terrible. That's what all of Lady Gaga's singing sounded like, except for like the big like dream sequence showpieces where they actually get to talk loud.
Well, one of the only songs where she's not singing in that voice is like when they're at when she sets the fire and then like they're outside singing.
Yeah.
Or when Joaquin Phoenix is tap dancing.
All right.
Which, by the way, Joaquin Phoenix, unless that was a stunt double, but I'm not sure if it was or wasn't, so I'm just going to assume it was Phoenix doing the tap dancing. That speaking on the technical side of things, Joaquin Phoenix is a pretty good tap dancer. Like, I was amazed. Like, he was in rhythm, he was energetic, and Lady Gaga with her singing, like, she was going full blown with it. Like, she was like shaking her body. Her voice was, her voice was high. Like, you could hear what she was saying, and she was just really putting on a show. So, like, to me, there are some really show-stopping musical numbers, and even the quieter ones I still really liked. I know you probably weren't a fan of Joaquin Phoenix's singing voice because
I didn't think it was as terrible as I'd heard beforehand.
I think Joaquin Phoenix was trying with his singing voice. Like, again, I'm not someone who can analyze singing voices like down to the minutia, but all I know is when it comes to singing voices, if I like what I hear, then to me it's good.
Like I was just musing that how sad is it that one of the biggest praises we have for the movie is the gratuitous tap dancing sequence was well performed.
Honestly, there's another movie that gets that damned by faint praise thing. Cats.
No.
Release
Well,
the butthole kind.
Well, Joker 2 gets a lot more merit than that piece of crap.
But yeah.
Yeah,
I had to see that piece of crap in theaters.
I bought that piece of crap on Blu-ray.
I watched that piece of crap on streaming, and I live reacted to it on Twitter.
There were one or two songs that I liked in Cats. There were no songs in this that got
Jellicle,
stuck in my head.
Jellicle.
That was not one of them.
Memory hopefully was one of them.
Scrimbleshanks I remember liking, and the McCavity one I liked. Those are about the only two that got stuck in my head.
Oh well.
But like, we get off topic very easily talking about this movie. But like, so basically, like, at the end of the movie, Joker has had reality drilled into his head that he's a nobody, and he, like, declares that the Joker doesn't exist, which, mimicking real life, you pointed out, like, people just, like, get fed up and leave the courtroom, and much like the fans who were like, what do you mean the Joker doesn't exist?
And that, to me, was Todd Phillips once again making fun of people, like, who ate up the first movie, because, like, I think Todd Phillips was a little taken aback by the kinds of people that were the kinds of fans that were praising the first movie, and I felt like somewhere in that head of his, he had to basically be like Deadpool and go like, you thought this is what I was telling you to do? Okay, then I'm gonna spell it out for you.
If there's one scene from the trial that we kind of skipped that I thought was a good scene. That's when they bring in Gary Puddles from the first one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember like even people who didn't like the movie were talking about that as the best scene because like
for people who don't know, that's the dwarf character from the first one.
It was Joker's boss in the first one, basically. Yeah. Like the reason that scene works is it's this kind of subdued moment of like this guy who the Joker didn't directly interact with, but still like basically demolished him psychologically. So and they do a subtle and realistic way of like kind of actions louder than words, a way of showing you like how the Joker screwed this guy up.
And Joker just goes on this like almost psychotic this like this very mean-spirited psychological torture of him, where like he's putting on this like very fake Southern accent. He's like, Gary Puddles. Is that even your real name? I got him doing British, but he's like...
It's more like, Gary Puddles. What are you doing?
Gary Puddles. Is that your real name?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I tried doing it, I ended up with Benoit Blanc.
What I heard you doing was Grinch.
And so, like, the way he's just talking to him is, like, he knows what he did to him, and he's just, like, really, like, just like, literally taking... Not even a pinch of salt. He's taking like the whole bucket of salt and just really rubbing it in the wound.
At the same time, though, he kind of sounded surprised when the Gary was like snapping back at him about how much he screwed his life up. Like that seemed like a moment of realization.
Well,
that
I think in Joker's mind, though, it's like he let Gary Puddles live. So what does Gary Puddles have to complain about?
And it's like, well, like the last thing he says to him is. Like, Joker was, like, the only one who didn't laugh at him.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's again kind of a shout of, you could have been a decent guy if you didn't throw it all away for bullshit.
I don't know if it plays into, like, Joker's later realization, but that kind of exact thinking mirrors, like, what he was thinking in the first one.
Well, yeah. I think it does start to mimic, I think it does start to show he's swinging back towards reality, because, like, when he says, like, you were actually, like, when he's shouting him that you were actually decent to me, Arthur has to say twice that, like, I said, no more questions, Your Honor, and then when he says, like, you were decent to me, and the Joker, once again, you can hear the shakiness in his voice. He's like, I said no more questions, Your Honor.
It's shot like a moment of realization where, like, again, like, reality is poking through what he thought was going on there.
And then, towards the end of the trial, like, or at the very end of the trial, when it's closing statements, he, like, the final moment of clarity is, like, he does get all dressed up in the Joker makeup, like the day after he was beat up.
One moment that I thought was really well done but understated is like when he gets back and the guards are pissed at him because he basically told them all to fuck off in the trial. Yeah. Like, Brandon Gleeson just takes a rag, like, takes off all the Joker makeup with, like, a half a second motion, like one wipe, and it all comes off at once. I thought that was a good shot of like how easily the how easily the like play is dispelled.
And I liked how they reused at least how they reused a flashback scene from like the bathroom, from like this like dirty bathroom from the first movie, where it's just like, yeah, you really are just some nobody. That's what you are. And then so the final moment of clarity is like he's gotten all dressed up. He takes a stool towards the jury box, and he sits down like he's getting ready to go on this like huge, like as he says, this huge tirade, this huge spiel. This big like showstopper to attention grabber.
Basically admits I was going to come on here and blame all you people for screwing me up, but no, it's like
and then he basically says like I can't do that. I really am just a loser.
Mm-hmm.
And that people shouldn't follow me. People shouldn't care what I have to say.
And he says I can't do this anymore. Like he realizes he's just screwing himself for clout, basically.
And he knows that clout's not gonna last forever.
Mm-hmm. And the part I was a little bit like, okay, this feels like this should have had more development or come out of nowhere. After he has this realization, the courtroom explodes, and there's like, I mean, I could see riots going on for like these lunatic followers that he had, but like, it kind of like he gets picked up by two of his followers and then tries to get away from them because they realize, like, I guess because he realized they're only going to make his life worse. Then that whole angle is just kind of dropped. Like, I felt like they were like it felt kind of Deus Ex Machina to get him out of the courtroom a little bit for another scene.
I'm not gonna argue that. That's like literally they hardly explain how they blow up a courthouse.
Well, they actually they do say it. It's clear enough to where they say it was a car bomb, and there is a way to make car bombs cars into incredibly deadly and powerful explosives.
Yeah, and then low key they have it be Harvey Dent's Two-Face origin story.
Yeah, very sort of, and then there's another origin that we'll get to.
Yeah, because that was this was another. Sorry, go ahead.
I do want to say that I think that it wasn't so much the whole car bombing of the course was meant to be this big plot point. It was meant to basically be that like the only two people that were left as far as Joker supporters were these just like two random losers, and Joker just kind of realizes that, and he basically like sheds the last of like whatever following he had left.
And the people who are cheering him on as he basically makes an ass of himself. Well, no, I was going to say the people who we see during the trial are cheering him on as he makes a complete ass of himself on national TV are the people in an insane asylum. Which, that reminds me, why the hell is Detective Harvey Bullock a mental patient here?
Like, they just simply say his last name is Bullock, so it might just be an Easter egg shout out, not even the same character,
but you're left to imply.
Yeah. Because, like, the one and only shout out to Batman in the first movie is Batman sliding down a pole, like in the Adam West series.
You mean Joker sliding down a pole?
No, Bruce Wayne slides down a pole at a playground when the Joker goes to see him.
Okay, yeah.
Like that was I'm sure there are more subtle references, but like a shout out to the Adam West show was the only overt Batman reference in that movie.
And then when he's running through the city, he goes back up the stairs from the first movie and has this like moment with Lee,
where basically now that he's like now that she can't manipulate him anymore because
she has no more.
She has a clout chasing. Yeah, she's done with him, which. Again, like,
and she flat out says it's basically like, I have no more use for you.
That's another recurring thing I noticed from internet anarchist followers. Like, these people who get famous for doing shitty things, sorry, I will word one of these days. They accumulate followings of toxic people who dump them at a moment's notice because they just like basically goad them on to see how much dumb shit can I get this person to do, and then ditch them when their clout runs out.
Yeah, like, I mean, we're talking YouTube channels like that. I guess you could say Darkside Phil's one of those. They love trolling him, but let's see.
There's this one guy, I don't even know his name, but I saw a clip of it on Twitter where he's a kid who's like in middle school and takes tests on stream with people feeding them the answers, and he gets like a 0% because the audience is trolling him.
Oh God, I think I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so let's not.
And he gets straight. He was reading his report card live on stream, and he got straight Fs.
Yep.
Wow. But yeah,
so
so like some of Lee's manipulation tactics. At one point, like they have sex in this movie,
and it's
And
Admittedly, it's extremely uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
And this is after Miles showed me the Rebel Moon sex scenes from the extended cut that no one has watched.
the sex scenes from Rebel Moon that could have the Room soundtrack playing over them. But yeah, so okay.
We're just getting the business from both ends.
Alright. But yeah, so like one of her manipulation tactics is that she claims that she's pregnant, and while they never say it, like it's flat out implied that she's full of shit.
Oh, anyone with a working brain cell can tell she's lying, so of course the Joker doesn't pick up on it.
Yeah, like and then, like, even at the end, like, when Joker's, like, trying to stay with her, like, out of desperation, like, he's like, we gotta raise our baby, and, like, she just says nothing about that, she just starts singing.
Like, the implication
she's just exhausted.
She's just kind of silently going, I can't believe you fell for that.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you were, like, she was almost, like, and not a lot of words saying, like, you were almost like you were too easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in hindsight, I am starting to appreciate, like, this manipulation tactics that
And that's why
I
I think Lady Gaga's performance, like, I'm not sure exactly what every single review. I just remember the large tone of all the reviews was uniformly negative.
Mm-hmm.
But like Lady Gaga's performance is I think very overlooked in this movie. Like, I'm not gonna go on a spiel and say like, well, actually no, I might. Like, I think her performance is very overlooked as probably one of the most thematically interesting portrayals of Harley Quinn. Not saying there aren't other good Harley Quinn portrayals out there, Margot Robbie, but like in terms of like substance and thematic interest to me, I think Lady Gaga is probably the most interesting I've seen yet.
I know so many critics online who hate Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn because she can't keep her accent straight.
I'm just trying to think because, like, this doesn't change how I thought the movie was overall really dull.
But at least knowing what it was going for.
Like, I appreciate what it was going for, but, like, I don't know how this could have been executed better, but...
I only suggest... The only overall thing I have for how it could have been executed better, like, trim all the dry stuff at the beginning,
or try to add more.
So maybe you could have
knocked.
knocked like 17 minutes out of this movie.
Maybe since it's 2 hours 17 minutes.
Bring it down to like an even 2 hours.
That sounds about right. That's where I would start anyway, because like again, having context for this shit does happen in real life with people like this. I appreciate this movie's arc for the Joker. I just wish it would have gotten to the point a lot sooner.
And so it just makes me laugh that like everybody who propelled Joker 1 to like $1 billion box office hit
wanted nothing to do with
wanted
this.
nothing to do with this.
It's like the arc in the movie was playing out in real life.
Yeah, because this movie lost Warner Brothers a shitload of money.
Yeah, how funny is it that the first movie is I think the first R-rated movie to ever hit $1 billion.
Not just that. No. I don't think it's the first R-rated movie to ever hit. It's the first R-rated comic book movie. Wait, yeah, the first R-rated comic book movie.
I'm pretty sure it was the first R-rated movie to hit $1 billion.
And it had such a low budget. It was like the most profitable.
And then Deadpool and Wolverine became the second one, I think.
Like, I think Joker, like the first Joker, had like maybe a $50 million budget. And then Folie Deux got a whopping $200 million.
Because
budget.
of course, that's what Hollywood does nowadays.
I think Todd Phillips was trolling Warner Brothers.
It's because like Warner Brothers really thought that like they had a new hit series on their hands, and so they were basically willing to give Todd Phillips whatever he asked for. And I think I
took them for a ride.
And I think I saw someone make the joke like Todd Phillips like swindled $200 million out of Warner Brothers and took them for a ride.
Yeah, so the first one makes $1 billion at the box office, and then this one, how much did it make?
Someone else is gonna have to look it up because my phone is the camera.
Oh, okay.
You know what? You keep talking. I'll go get my phone.
I mean, mine's right
there.
But
You got
crystals. Got it.
Let
me get it.
Yeah.
Oh, hand. I'm not gonna. I'll look it up for you while you're handling her.
Okay.
Yeah, one end of Giga Crystal's loincloth at the Velcro is going away. So
yeah,
last
thing we need is a wardrobe malfunction on this thing, even though there's nothing underneath. But yeah.
Folie Deux, and then I need to type in box office.
So
Box office mojo. Joker Folie Deux on its like roughly $200 million budget made only $207 million.
Well, the thing about that is domestically it made $58 million.
Yeah.
You get way less of the international take, so that domestic should be a lot. I mean, what the money it made is practically a lot lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it made back its budget, but you have to factor in marketing costs. You have to factor
Breaking
in theater
even.
takes. Like,
And then just to confirm what I thought it was about its budget was about $190 million.
So close to 200.
So it, for all intents and purposes, like honestly, I think we can't just call it bombed.
I think
it
I don't-
bombed.
It was one of the biggest bombs of last year.
And it lost them, like they lost money.
Yeah, but like Film Brain was talking about, like, Todd Phillips is the same guy who did the Hangover movies. He said, like,
All three, I might add.
Between this and Hangover 2, like, Film Brain called him the master of the Spite sequel.
I have not seen any of the Hangovers.
I've
seen the
first
one.
I haven't seen any of them either, just not my bag. But
So- Anyway, so back to the main movie, because like we stopped at like Joker meeting Lee on the staircase.
like, she basically tells him to rot in hell and leaves. He turns himself in, and then this is another part of the movie that I think is a legitimate problem, because this guy who has had maybe 30 seconds of screen time and I think 0 lines, like, comes up to the Joker and shanks him to death because he was one of the Joker's followers, one of these, like,
guys
sad-
was all in on him.
yeah, one of these sad man boys who, like, built their identity around the Joker and, like, cannot accept that the dude basically shot his whole worldview to hell, shanks him to death. And this is the part that I think they were deliberately courting controversy. If you pay attention to the background, he carves his face like Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight.
And you can also start to hear him cackling a little bit. And
like,
as
like, out of context, when MP told us that in the group chat, I was like, oh, fuck you off. They're trying to tie this to The Dark Knight. But, like, I think they're basically trying to imply that there's, like, a lineage of Jokers going forward, which might have been, like, for the themes, might also have been in case they wanted a third one.
Or it might be like they're implying that Arthur Fleck was never the Joker and that this guy actually is like the real Joker, because like
Gotham did the same thing.
Yeah, Gotham did do the same thing.
Their proto-Joker eventually died, and then his brother became the real Joker.
Because the best versions of the Joker have him kept very as mysterious as possible,
Like,
where you maybe get his real name, and you maybe get a few actual hints of his backstory.
Yeah,
but by and large, he is very kept in the shadows, because that's supposed to keep you on edge whenever he's interacting with
Well,
characters.
if I could correct you on that, usually you don't even get the real name.
Yeah, Batman 89 is the outlier in that regard.
Didn't they say his real name in Mask of the Phantasm?
But no, in the animated series continuity, they kind of sort of like say his real name might be Jack Napier, but at the same time, Joker has like a bunch of aliases.
Yeah,
so,
Batman the animated series was always kind of skirting whether it was in line with the Burton
like
films or
they
not.
show you what he looks like before he became Joker, but then you never find out his actual name.
And so the vagueness surrounding the guy that comes up and stabs him, I thought that that actually works, because like that is exactly what Joker is. Like, he's some unknown person we don't know much about, and he can come up out of nowhere, and so he shanks this guy, and then he transforms himself into the Joker, and then he's gonna be the Joker that the people on the the people on the outside think they want.
Like, I get why they did that. It just bugs me that this guy was not a character in this movie until he became, like, the centerpiece
Like, you would have appreciated
of the film.
some hints throughout the movie.
It just feels like he should have had a bigger role in things, I think.
yeah.
Okay.
Which, again, that could have been something you filled the earlier dry moments with during the trial with another character or something.
Sprinkle him throughout.
Also, I don't know if this is because the random Joker dude arranged for this, but like, wasn't a security guard like leading, like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker away?
Said he had a guest, which I'm guessing was a ploy from this guy who paid.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a ploy, because like
Arthur
had no other escorts. The guy was walking clear ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, and the way it was being framed and whatnot, I could tell, like, no, this was all a planned trap.
It feels like, 'cause the guy doesn't have any money to pay off the guard, but he probably went, "Hey, I want to stab Arthur," and the guard probably would have been, "Okay," because that guy's a dick. Go ahead.
Probably kind of like the prison guard, the prison guard and the Murphy guy at the beginning of Silent Hill Downpour was like, "Can I stab this guy in the shower?"
There's also the fact that no cops, like no guards come. We were looking in the background for the guy carving his face. No guards come running when the dude gets stabbed. Like no one there.
Well,
cared about
Miles,
him
you haven't
anymore.
gotten far into Silent Hill Downpour, but Murphy had a really good reason for stabbing that guy at the start.
I know he does, but like
Yeah.
I don't think it took that much to convince the guard to basically say like, hey, can I stab this guy?
Well,
in the
there's a
shower?
lot more story to it too. Like you get more into the guard that let him do it, but yeah.
And so I'm surprised we haven't talked about this yet, but I think the first sign that this movie was not going to be like what the hyper fans of the original thought it was going to be was this movie straight up opens with a Looney Tunes style animation sequence.
Oh yeah, I did not expect that.
That was actually very well made. Like it gets
Yeah.
the point across right away that they're like he's trying to push off that
his responsibility.
that he wasn't responsible, and I think it's also like it's a subtle point to go slightly off topic where basically his psychiatrist is almost leading him on what to say to make everybody think he has a split personality. But my point was like I think this is not the movie that the Uber fans wanted was when the first half hour is him just kind of sadly bumming around not saying anything.
Or not saying much, and I really liked the opening, like the opening, just because like it was it was a genuine surprise, and it wasn't like something just for the sake of being shocking, like because it was shocking to see it,
Yeah.
but like it wasn't just there for shock value. Like they actually, like you said, they did stuff with the story.
Maybe
It did something to it. It had a story purpose. It was, again, animated in the style of Looney Tunes, and it had the humor of a Looney Tunes
it was competently animated in the style of Looney Tunes.
Yes, like I really liked it. Like and I just find it funny that I just found it very endlessly entertaining that with the active disdain that Warner Brothers is showing towards the Looney Tunes property these days and animation in general, frankly, the fact that Todd Phillips had this like full on like animation sequence in the movie in the style of Looney Tunes almost felt like a giant middle finger to be like, people still like this.
I had the opposite thought. What if its inclusion in this film is why Warner Brothers hates the Looney Tunes now?
that Todd Phillips had a secret agenda to make Warner Brothers actively hate the Looney Tunes.
Like that whole sequence, like it served its purpose, but at the same time, like I mean, both of you kind of explained it. I just thought it was confusing, like so the way they showed Joker's split personality in the animated part is that there's Joker himself and then there's his shadow, sort of like Peter Pan kind of. Mm-hmm. And at first they make it seem like the shadow is the one that's like desperately trying to be in control, like the shadow's the victim and the real Joker is like the murderer and everything. And then later on, they make it to where the shadow is actually the murderer, and then the real Joker has to, like, break himself out.
So Keanu Reeves is the murderer?
Well, it kind of happens.
Get it? Shadow?
Oh.
Alec Baldwin was the shadow.
Oh, darn it. Well, okay, don't ruin my reference.
Get the reference right, and then I'll ruin it. But, like, I think the gimmick there was, like, because the shadow, like, locks, like they fight, and then it's, like, the shadow, like, takes control for a while he goes on stage, and then he's, like, the real Arthur's, like, trying to wrestle control back.
Or maybe I just misinterpreted that. Maybe the shadow wanted to express itself, like, how, like, sort of like the more innocent side of Joker in the movie. I don't know.
Because, like, the shadow doesn't really do anything malicious except, like, throw a stick of dynamite at Arthur to like try and stay in control. So that was what confused me about that, where the cops start beating him up for doing nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've kind of we didn't do a step-by-step plot synopsis for structure, but mainly because this movie barely has a plot to speak of.
I will say one of the things I brought up in my Letterboxd review, and it's part of why I went into calling it a messy masterpiece, is there is a lot I really like, and honestly, at least for me, almost all of the positives I have for this movie, from the performances to the direction, the cinematography, the musical numbers. And by the way, the musical numbers, forgot to mention this, is they're not original music. It's not original music created for the movie. They did just take a bunch of licensed songs and work them into the actors singing them, primarily Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix.
And they do make it clear pretty early on that most to all the songs are dream sequences.
Yeah. And so from the classic, from what I viewed and from what I saw with my dad, what he viewed as like kind of like what they were doing like classic Hollywood style musical sequences like that. the themes it talks about, where Todd Phillips actually kind of backtracks on the first movie to spell it out that the mega fans of the first movie are kind of are kind of a bunch of idiots. Like just all of that going into the hodgepodge, I thought, like, again, messy masterpiece. But one of the other problems I did have was and it's something you have kind of made me try to be consciously aware of, that the superhero genre, the comic book genre, has a huge it generally has a problem. It's kind of slowly changing with, like, movies like Thunderbolts recently.
Yeah.
But, like, comic book movies and stories kind of have a problem with, like, mental health in terms of how it's presented, because, like, the two biggest problems it has is how people with mental illness are portrayed, and secondly, how the world of psychiatry is portrayed, or therapy is portrayed. And Harley Quinn in this movie is kind of is a symptom of that, because, like, she is shown to be a character who has a graduate degree in psychology, and she uses that for nefarious purposes, and a lot of comic book properties do that with therapist characters.
Well, it's also kind of a theme of, actually, of all people, Family Guy did this point with Down Syndrome Girl.
Oh.
Like, you can have mental problems and still be a terrible person, which is kind of the point it makes about the Joker.
Mm-hmm. So like that was something I saw that was like, it kind of falls into some of those tropes, but, like, everything else around the movie kind of, like, it didn't turn into a Smile situation where, like, the Smiles films problems with regards to how it presents mental health just take over everything.
Yeah.
So, I guess So, I guess if I had to give my, like, kind of closing thoughts on Folie Deux, I think Folie Deux is one of the most interesting comic book movie experiments, because, like, again, it's basically a $200 million movie where the director takes the studio for a joyride and says, like, your $1 billion movie was fucking terrible.
Like, I appreciate the themes and message of this one as it went on. I just think they weren't necessarily delivered in the most interesting way, and the first half I felt was too bloated for its own good. Like, I probably appreciate it more than the first one for what it was doing. But I still kind of land on it just being okay for me.
I will put this out quickly, that my dad actually did think, and I love my dad, but my dad did think this should have been nominated for Best Picture.
Okay, then.
Yep, go on.
Well, my thoughts mostly reflect Jano's. Like, it has interesting themes to explore. Joker has a nice character arc. Like what they do with this version of Harley Quinn is a deviation that's actually pretty unique, and I appreciate it for that. And there's, like, a couple of well-acted scenes, but I thought the movie was really dull. I was not a fan of the musical numbers all that much. And, I mean, it could just be that, like, I know that they were probably going for, like, a sort of an art house direction, maybe. Well, the problem is art house movies I'm usually not a fan of.
And I am.
I'm ambivalent. I don't think I have a firm reference for what an art house film is.
I guess why I'm also being extra kind to Folie Deux today, as we sit here and do this,
it's not Neil Breen.
Well, it's not Neil Breen, it's not Dougal, it's not the fucking Phoenix Games collection, it's not fucking Rebel Moon Director's Cut.
Is that what you brought on yourself?
Okay.
You were watching a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, I have been watching so much bullshit that has driven me insane. Including last night, where a movie that featured Cyborg Zombie Jesus that had nothing to do with the movie.
I own that movie, by the way.
And Joker Folie Deux, granted, not a high bar, but with all the bullshit I've had to put up with, Joker Folie Deux is a masterpiece compared to everything I have watched lately.
You forgot the moment that broke you in Dougal.
Oh yeah, the moment
where the guy gets into a martial arts fight and references The Matrix.
And just many other pop culture references, to the point where I wanted to strangle him because he was making me watch this insufferable movie. That, like, again, compared to everything else, Joker Folie Deux may as well have been a messy masterpiece in comparison. And honestly, the last genuine thing I got to say, because of what I'm gonna subject you to tonight, in terms of movies, you get what you fucking deserve.
Are you gonna strangle me now?
50. I did not want to strangle you, but Crystal did to save her boy.
Are you gonna try it again, Miles?
Also,
I'm not doing
we're
that.
not doing a
again,
vlog about it,
Crystal's
but
shielding me.
we're not doing a vlog about it. But Miles' treat for us tonight is 50 Shades of Black,
Starring Marlon Wayans.
which I gave that to MP as payback for them giving me the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy.
Yep.
Joke's on them because I gave it to my mom for a Christmas present. Did we have anything else to say, or should I?
Nope. I thought honestly I had fun doing this. So
I had fun.
I guess
I
thank you.
I have a movie from the library that I thought it would be fun to do that we'll film another day. But
God.
And maybe there'll be one more library movie or Disney Plus.
And to give you I got a great idea for how we're gonna close this. And to give you a hint for what that next vlog is gonna do, Chicken Jockey!
Chicken Jockey.
we had an idea that we could like throw the Kirby plushes or something instead of popcorn, so it's not
Yeah.
a mess and it's fun.
Okay.
Okay.